result of about 4 hours of playing with rocks. So I'm sure there's probably ways in which I've done this more, that it doesn't necessarily take 4 hours of playing with rocks. Of course, this is 2 tanks at the same time, and I was trying to scape them so that they would complement each other. And I'm still not quite done. I like this one on the left over here. I think it's done. I think I'm going to take the little rock in the back out, actually, because I've got this tissue culture crypt undulata that I want to put in, and it's pretty big. Maybe too big for these tanks, but I can always take it out and do something else after it. But it's tissue culture right now, so it's about, what, 1.5 inches tall, so it's not going to be a problem for a long time. Plus, I think it distracts from the overall angles of the rocks. But I like the dynamic angles I've got going on here with the flow of the rocks over in this one. A little bit more than this one, so I just need to play with the placement a little bit more. And again, I think I'm going to take the rock in the back out. Now, in some of my still shots, you might have seen I had a piece of egg crate going on in the bottom on the recommendation of one of my planted tank mentors, Karen Randall, who wrote Sunken Gardens. I highly, highly recommend her book. She was like, it's going to mess with your, well, not mess with, it was that the roots of the plants would get entangled in the egg crate, and it would make it very difficult to remove, say, said crypts when they're too big. And she was like, it'll be even easier to put the rocks in if you just put your substrate in first. And lo and behold, she's absolutely right. So I took that out. You can sort of, and you can see my process, and it was just way, way easier. And so for the record, she said she doesn't use egg crate on any tanks until she hits like the 75-gallon mark or so, I think is what she said. So these are 5-gallon little nano tanks. There's about 6.5 pounds of rock in each of them, so we don't have to worry about the glass breaking anytime soon, especially with a good ½ inch or so of substrate underneath the rocks. There's no pointy bits of the rocks in the glass, and they locked in much, much better with the substrate already in there. So that's where we're at tonight. We've got Fluval Stratum again. Still working with that one. At some point I would really like to try the ADA Amazonia, but I'm familiar with this one. It's been working really well, and it is a lot less expensive, especially when I'm doing 2 tanks at once. So I'm working with this one. It's good. It doesn't release ammonia into the water when you're started, and it's got some good nutrients to get your tank started. It takes a little bit of practice to plant in it. We'll do that tomorrow in the daylight, so the video is a little bit better quality. Of course, it won't make any difference to you who are watching it because it's all going to be one video, but we'll be planting that soon. And yeah, I'm just going to play with my rocks here for a little bit more tonight, and we will get you this full video here put together. Before we get on to the planting, one more thing. So these are the lids I've made for this. These are Fluval Chi aquariums that I bought off Facebook Marketplace. I got them for $30 for both of them. They're both 5 gallons, and they didn't come with any of the Chi equipment, but that's okay because I wouldn't have used it anyway. So what I've got going now are 2 5-gallon tanks. I could not get the light clips off the back, but that's a minor distraction to the eye. These tanks were a really good deal for some rimless. They're not quite cubes. They're 10 by 10 by 12 inches tall, so a little bit taller, but they were pretty close to the dimensions I was looking for, and you can't beat that price. I have a Knit Crew light going across both of them. This was on a vivarium that was on my desk that I took apart, and I've decided to give this a try. I may change this out later. I will keep you posted, but for right now, for getting this tank started, that's what I'm going to do with that. And then what I did was, these are 10 inches this way and 10 inches this way exactly, and so I cut 8 by 10 glass, or had my glass shop do it, 1/8 of an inch thick. They sand the edges for me. If your glass shop doesn't do that, you're definitely going to want to sand it yourself so that it's not sharp, because you will be handling this. And then again, on Karen's recommendation, I simply use some of these translucent furniture corners just to the inside of the glass. And what this does is it lets the glass sit right on top of the tank. And of course, I've got the light in the way. Hang on one second. Sorry for the jiggles. There we go. It sits it on top of the tank, right on the side, and that way it doesn't, you can't slide off. The furniture corners keep it in place, and you can hardly tell they're there. It barely detracts at all. if any, from the rimless look, especially with those black clips on the back, and it will prevent a lot of water evaporation. But I've still got 2 inches on the back here. As you can see, I can slide it back and just feed the fish, but this space in the back will also let me have some filter space back there, but I should be able to still slide it back enough in the front to feed the fish. If not, I could just lift it up a little bit. I may add handles, still undecided on that. We'll see how it works once I put it all together. We'll go over the equipment and everything once I get it planted, but that is how I did the lids for these twin 5-gallon aquariums. I've got a nice little tissue culture pack of crypts here. I think will look really neat in the back of these tanks. And I just wanted to look at these. When you get tissue culture plants, they come usually in this nutritive plant gel, and it's non-toxic, but you want to take it off the roots and let those roots really get into your substrate so that they can grow really well. And so I sort of brush it off with my fingers, and then I'm going to take these to the sink and run them under the faucet to get the last little bits out before I plant them. Here are the plants I have so far. I've got them spread out on a lid so that I can mist them with water as I'm working to keep them damp. I have some Java fern I bought, a little bit over here, and also some Java fern I cut out of the shrimp tank over here that's now all cloudy because I just went and cut all of these stem plants out of there as well. And I also have some more stem plants and some Anubias Nana Petite coming sometime this week, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with these and get these tanks filled up. Once again, I will be using this Gorilla, actually it doesn't matter what brand, it's a super glue gel, and the main thing that matters is that it's all cyanoacrylate grid gel, so whatever the super glue is, it doesn't matter what the brand is. But I like the gel because it's more easy to control, so I'll be using that to attach these Java fern rhizomes to the back of some of the rocks, and then I will be using my planting tweezers or pincettes to plant the stem plants and the crypts down into the substrate itself. So when I go to plant my stem plants or my rooted plants like the crypts, I grab them very low to the ground with my tweezers like this, or low to the bottom, so that I can push them all the way down into the substrate and get them to stay. So this one's going to go all the way here in the back. I just sort of wiggle it down as far as it'll go, and then I open up the pinchers and pull it out. And then it's all the way down there. And very few of them float up when you plant them like this. So you just have to be slow and careful, get them as deeply into the substrate as possible, and then fill your tank very slowly. And you can plant in fluval stratum. So I've covered the front of these tanks in saran wrap. I think I can mostly pour onto the rocks and prevent the substrate from being disturbed, but I added a little bit of plastic wrap just to help disperse the water flow, especially right at the beginning. And then the secret is to just pour very, get on the rock. There we go. Very, very slowly until the tanks are full, especially at the beginning. Once there's a few inches, you can go a little faster. Plants that are in pots, they are usually planted in this rock wool stuff, and before you put it in your tank, you want to take all of it off.